Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Bladewolf Kagekiyo, where I'll be talking about various motorsports and sim racing from a furry perspective. Today the topic we'll be talking about will be, of course, the Virtual Le Mans 24, the event that took place last week, which real world racing drivers and sim racers team up. This was because of the current world situation involving COVID-19. The actual real life Le Mans race is unable to take place because of all these restrictions, so this actually came across as a way of filling in the gap during this current outbreak. One thing I have to say about this event, it went reasonably well. In fact, I really enjoyed watching most of the race. I say most of the race because of course I did have to sleep through some of it, but throughout the event everything seemed to went mostly smooth, bar one or two hiccups. And it was done rather well. The sim that was used during the Virtual Le Mans 24 was in fact R-Factor 2, and the reason why they went with this sim rather than iRacing was because it had a lot of support from the Studio 397, who actually provided all the car skins and models that's going to be used for the actual race, and he also provided some custom skins for the teams that participate in to make it look more real, but within the sim racing of course. And it also had a wider variation of cars, which is very valuable for if you want to try and keep it more entertaining and less looking like samey. The rules from the ACO, who actually do a real life Le Mans, that they managed to put in place is very similar to how they do it in real life. The only exception is because sim racers are involved as well as professional racing drivers, what they wanted in order to keep the viewership up for those who normally watch actual Le Mans is that decided that each team must have a minimum of 2 professional real-world racing drivers that will drive along sim races. Pretty much most of the team has done that, with the exception of Ferrari, who decided to field all 4 of their drivers as professional racing drivers. This included Charles Leclerc, of course. One of the things that was quite entertaining is how all these real-world racing drivers had to be coached by actual sim racers in order to use the menus and everything properly, so that when they actually come into the pits they can put the right information in, right tyres, right fuel if they want to change it, and also the fact they have to be taught how to change a racing drivers during mid-race, because you do have to go through the menu system in order to actually change hands, so that whoever's on the other side of the world can basically jump in the car when needed to be. And it actually shook things up. It's actually quite entertaining. It worked most of the time, plus or minus there was one or two couple of confusions, but once everyone got used to it, it actually worked pretty well. The race itself was actually really entertaining, and it went all pretty well. There was a lot of close races. In fact, it was so close that even at the halfway point there was quite a lot of cars that was still on the leading lap, which was really, really good. Of course, there was a few issues, of course. One of them which was Fernando Alonso, who unfortunately received a penalty, and sadly where the R-Factor works is that when you get a penalty you have to serve that first before doing anything else, which is a problem because Fernando Alonso was pretty much running out of fuel, and because when he went into the pits he couldn't stop it to tell it saying I don't want to take this penalty, I want to fuel up first, and because of that he ended up taking the penalty first. His car was let out and unfortunately he ran out of fuel. Thankfully the red flag that actually came about mostly because it was a precaution, because the server was about to set itself on fire a little bit. He was allowed back in, and not only that, he did allow to have his laps back, although from the back of the grid. It wasn't the only issue we had during the night. We also had Max Verstappen, who's had connection issues again, and ended up getting kicked out because of connection issues. But after the second red flag, he was also allowed back in, which is a good thing, even though it will put in the back of the grid. But to be fair, it's the fairest thing they could probably thought of at the time, without affecting too much of a race result that much. One of the things that was great to see during the race is that both Rebellion Williams and Bicollis teams doing well in it. The reason I say it's quite good is because, for example, Bicollis is normally a minnows team in real life, in Le Mans and WEC race category. However, seeing them fighting up the field is actually really nice to see. Also, the same goes to Rebellion Williams, where the F1 team Williams and the Le Mans World Endurance Racing Rebellion has teamed up to form the esports team. And the reason why that was nice for two reasons. One, I always have a bit of a soft spot for Rebellion during the World Endurance Championship. I always root them on, and it's always great when they did manage to win a couple of real world races. And also the fact that Williams, who, as we all know, had all the horrible luck in Formula 1 recently, especially the fact they had recently put the team on sale, whether it's for full sale of the team or partial sale, but they have actually put the stocks. So seeing Williams and Rebellion, or should I say the Rebellion Williams doing well, is fantastic to see. And hopefully this will help them all in the future, and I wish the best of luck with them. Another highlight for me in particular is the one as it went into the evening was when Simon Pagenaud managed to redeem himself. The man who was heavily criticised for hitting off Lando Norris in the virtual Indy 500 a month ago. And the reason I say he managed to redeem himself was because during the race his steering wheel broke down. But what happened next was actually quite incredible. The reason why I say this was because what happened was he managed to do a really fast quick change of moving his broken rig and brought his spare rig in, which he got from his friend, which he borrowed, and managed to plug it in quickly within 30 seconds and then managed to drive away. Well, if you think that he wasn't taking simulation racing seriously, that pretty much proves that on this occasion he certainly did. And I have to clap my hands to him, and well done, mate, well done. That's a fantastic job. I don't think anyone has become as prepared as you did, but that was brilliant. Well done, mate. And that certainly earns a thumbs up redemption from me. The final highlight for me, I have to say, is to the popular YouTuber Jimmy Broadbent, the guy who normally does a lot of sim racing. And I certainly have to applaud him after reaching 500,000 subscribers during that race, which is well deservingly, and he deserves a lot after putting all that hard work and commitment to do what he does. Especially the fact that now he hasn't just become a household name just around in YouTube, but a household name outside of YouTube as well. So that even people who don't normally watch YouTube actually know who he is now. And he did have a pretty respectable race, despite having horrendous luck. It didn't help that he did got taken out a couple of times by an LMP2 cars that was overtaking him. And also the fact that they also had issues where Robert Witkins had a steering wheel issue which stopped working properly pretty much. And it's, well, I think the issue it had was that it was stuck on force feedback on full amount, so in fact it made it difficult to steer. And also there was some minor organisation issues as well, but thankfully Jimmy, who basically pulled his socks up and basically sorted it all out, managed to pull it off. And not only that, they managed to finish to the end of the race, which is a huge achievement in itself. All I can say is, Jimmy, after all that hard work, well done, mate. You also deserves a thumbs up and a raising of a beer glass for me. That was a fantastic achievement, and I hope you continue what you've been doing. Well done, mate. At the end of the race we have two overall winners, one in the LMP2 category and one in the GTE category. The winner in the LMP2 category was Rebellion Williams Esports, which was taken home by Nicholas Wisniewski. And it was a fantastic fact they did manage to win, but it only just win because they did have to do a lot of fuel saving, where By Collis, who finished a strong second, was actually catching them up at some rates of knots. But thankfully they did manage to cross the line and finish first, although not long after they crossed the line they did run out of fuel and had to be pushed back to the pits by the number 13 Rebellion Williams Esports. In the GTE category it was won by the Porsche team, and as you can see they were really celebrating when their car crossed the line, winning the race. And what was more interesting about this, it was one of their drivers is the British racing driver Nick Tandy, who not only has won the virtual Le Mans but also won the real world racing at Le Mans 24 with the Porsche team. And but yeah, that is actually quite an achievement to do it in both real world and sim racing. Of course, both teams in each categories do actually take home an actual real trophy, which is similar to what they would have won if they raced in real life as well, which is a nice little touch to it. And I think it is great that they have done that, just to keep it all nice and interesting. My final thoughts on this video is the fact that I am quite pleased of how successful this was, and I really hope they do this more regularly, as in they keep continuing this even till next year. There has been talks that they are going to do it as well, which in a similar format which they have done, which I think is brilliant. I think it's worth, certainly give a chance to see how well sim racers are racing with the real world racing drivers, of course, and it's nice to see that it's a different perspective. It's more, in my view, a more level playing field, and I really look forward to see it again. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. It's a little bit longer than what I've been used to, but hopefully you all like it. See you soon, and howl you later. Ow!